Let's Talk is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to Let's Talk episode 37, brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network. Howdy all, Father Cory Sticha. Welcome to Let's Talk, our weekly SQPN community podcast. Glad you could join us again. We've got a couple returning panelists this week. First of all, we've got Barb from Nebraska. How's it going, Barb?
Great. It's cold, and I'm coming down with a cold.
Oh, yes, winter time, especially for a teacher, right?
Yes.
And then we got Mike Creavey joining us again. How's it going, Mike?
Also cold here in Pennsylvania, but I don't have a cold yet, so we're holding out.
That's a good thing. And it's to go with the trilogy there. It's cold here in Montana. Actually, it's snowing again. Nice light flurry going on outside, so I'll have to go shovel the walk here later today again. But yeah, and I don't have a cold either, so that's a good thing. I had that earlier in the year, so hopefully can stay away from it for a while. So how are things, other than having a cold, how are things going for you, Barb?
Well, pretty good. We've had 3 snow days this year, and you know how teachers like those snow days.
Oh, yes.
And there's another snowstorm coming. We've got a couple of days with just, 1 inch here, 1 inch there. But Monday night, we're watching out for that one. Keeping an eye on that storm.
Oh, that's always fun when those blizzards come in. We had that last weekend where I had to cancel the mission masses because the roads were not good. So, understand completely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you your school district have school days that they tack on at the end of the years to make up, or?
Well, they traditionally build in 5 days. So we've used 3. So we've got 2 left. And the state of Nebraska goes by hours. So we could add hours. So start earlier and later, which is kind of nice instead of doing days.
So if you use up your allotted extra days, you've got other options other than saying, oh, by the way, it's the middle of June and we're still going to have school.
Not fun.
No. I think anybody who's lived in northern climates have been there and done that. You understand exactly what that's like.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Mike? How have things been going?
Not too bad. We had a pretty, I guess, uneventful January for the most part, except for the fact that I took my comps for my master's through Franciscan University in January. So now I'm doing the wait for the grading to come through, and so I'm eagerly anticipating that. Hopefully, so it's an end of a 5-year journey that I was doing while I was working at a high school up near State College, and just all, I got married and we had a kid, all sorts of stuff. Well, that process began before any of that was really underway. So it's been a wild couple of years. So.
Oh, nice.
What's your master's in?
It's theology and Christian ministry through Franciscan. So,
wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
That'll be an interest. That probably has been an interesting topic of study.
Yeah, it has. And I've been very blessed to have a couple of professors that are kind of heroes of mine, and I'm sure a lot of other people too, like Professor Dr. John Bergsma,
nice.
Scott Hahn, and Alan Schreck, with some church history stuff. So that's been a real pleasure.
That's the nice thing about Steubenville, the Franciscan University. They've got some real powerhouse professors, and they're good. Oh yeah, and they're really interesting professors. Difficult too, as I understand it, but good professors.
Some courses more than others, I think.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Well, very good. Well, we've been busy around here as well. We've got an event coming up tonight as we record this, Saturday as we record this. I'll be using as my pick of the week. So kind of a teaser for my pick of the week, but it's been busy around here with that and the usual getting ready for Lent and all this stuff that's going on. So but it's a good season. Well,
and Lent is right around the corner, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not that 2-3 weeks off. So
March 7th or March 6th.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, it is March 6th. So we're only 3 weeks away till Lent. So we still got time to do the Mardi Gras routine. Plenty of time. Right. Well, shifting to our topic for the day, there is a celebration coming up here this week on Thursday. Of course, this will release on Tuesday, and then Thursday there's a big celebration every year that I think a lot of people look forward to, and of course that's St. Valentine's Day. And of course, sometimes people drop the saint and just call it Valentine's Day. But St. Valentine's Day, of course, is at least here in the United States, and I know Europe as well. It's kind of a big day for lovers, for people who are in relationships and everything. And it's an interesting feast because when you think about who St. Valentine was, there's a lot of incongruity there. It doesn't quite match. So St. Valentine was an early church martyr that we don't know a lot about, admittedly, and there's some thought that there might actually be two St. Valentines who their stories have been kind of mixed, or it's one person his story has been split into two. Again, we don't know a lot about him. But for whatever reason, his feast day has become romantic love. I wonder why that is. Either you have an idea?
I do not. I shared that one meme with you that said, roses are red, violets are blue. I was beaten with clubs, beheaded, buried under the cover of darkness, disinterred by my followers, and you commemorate my martyrdom by sending each other chocolates.
Yeah. It is an interesting thing. And one thing I did see once, as I think about it, was that this is when they thought birds would pair up. Mm-hmm. So this was, so I don't know if that's kind of a Middle Ages tradition that goes around with it, but it has become a celebration of romantic love, a day to celebrate romantic love, a day to, take flowers and give Valentine's cards and candies and all that kind of thing. As of course, as teachers, I think, Mike, you were a teacher at one point. You aren't currently, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
And
I taught high school the last 4 years. Yeah. Okay.
And then, of course, Barb is actively a teacher. That's where Valentine's Day, I think a lot of people really celebrated, is at school.
Yeah, and I wish Valentine's was more like that. It's so pure in the third grade classroom. They all buy Valentines and they give each other candy or pencils. And in our case, we have a peanut-free classroom, so they have plenty of candy that's peanut-free to give.
Right.
But, Father, I looked up on the National Retail Federation site, and they posted some stats on how much money is spent each year.
Sure.
Yeah, crazy. $19 billion was spent. And, but the amount of money is split. Of the 51% of people who are planning to celebrate, $93 is spent on your spouse, $30 on your family, $10 on your friends, and $9 on your children. So it's not necessarily for romantic. We spread it out. So that's nice to see. I liked hearing that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, and I'm just looking here too, because I do have I brought up a bunch of windows to kind of have references for in the background as we go for any potential fun little factoids. But I too have just sort of scratched my head. I mean, like, one of those things growing up, I don't think I ever really I just knew it was it's St. Valentine's Day. It's a Catholic feast. Okay, it's one of ours. Great. Yep. Okay. And then we do this other stuff. I think I, like anybody else, had a just sort of the fact of the way it's celebrated each year, just sort of could just kind of see that there's not a whole lot that seems to be linking those two up, in terms of this more, social or, cultural thing that we do versus, any kind of religious notion of it. Especially those little, what are they called? The little, the little hearts that are like chalky and.
Oh, the sweethearts. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and so like all those kinds of candy. So for me, I think as a kid, it was like, it was kind of like bad Halloween, in terms of like my candy interest, because it always seemed like it was like second rate candy compared to the candy we'd get in October.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wondered if it was just recycled. But those are some of my formative memories of it, just not really thinking too much about it one way or the other.
Well, it's funny now. I just noticed yesterday walking through the grocery store. Of course, every grocery store has their seasonal section where they put all their seasonal foods, and during the summer, that's where they put the pool toys and things like that. And I was just noticing that it's literally the same candy that goes out at Halloween, but instead of, pink and black or orange and black and all the Halloween colors, now it's all pinks and reds. But it's the same little Hershey bars and the same little Snicker bars and the same little, boxes of candy and just different colors.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Admittedly, as a kid, I did like the little hearts. They were a little.
They are sweet.
They're good, but they're different. But they were good. I like the the mint ones and things like that. But that was my choice as a kid. But it is interesting how we do celebrate it again at school, and it was fun to do the Valentines. Of course, I always think of Charlie Brown. In Peanuts, he always waited for his Valentine's Day card, especially from the little redhead girl that he had the crush on, and never happened. Meanwhile, Snoopy would always have a pile of them.
Maybe this is Charlie Brown's year. Maybe he'll get something this year.
Yeah. Well, there was a controversy because there's of course Brock's is the big candy maker. And they always had their hearts, but then there was another one, the Northeast Confectionery Company, I think it was, or something like that, Necco, and they went out of business. And they were a big producer of these hearts, and no, we won't have these. And then now a company is actually producing them to make sure that there are some available, so that crisis averted.
Yes. I did actually, if you guys don't mind, I did want to share. This is one of those, as we all know, with hagiographies, saint biographies. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's more as we would use the term, more historical, factual details in some of them than there are in some others. Right. So granted, but one that I did find that was kind of cool. And I couldn't quite see exactly how old this tradition is, but there's a tradition that Saint Valentine was a bishop in Umbria, and that he, I don't know if you saw this somewhere, I did the Wikipedia or somewhere I'd seen this, just sharing a footnote from some old Catholic encyclopedia on it. But it was kind of cool though. I guess he was under house arrest with this judge who was kind of testing him, and Valentine's trying to make the case for Christ, and the story is, I guess, that the judge basically said, okay, if you have supposedly, all this power, if your God's so powerful, you can cure my daughter of her blindness, and if you do that, I'll believe. And apparently he goes and he actually does cure her of her blindness. The judge is blown away and has his whole household baptized. Lets Valentine go. Things go well for a while, but then Valentine gets arrested again for evangelization. And then he's put before the emperor, who doesn't want to hear anything of it, basically, and just goes ahead and executes him. Right. But a neat little footnote of that was that supposedly, as he's going off, to be executed, he sent like a little note to the judge's daughter who he had healed, and says, from your Valentine. And supposedly there's some, that's, the tradition of giving a Valentine, so that's kind of cool if there's any truth to that. I didn't know that before. No, that's interesting, and it would fit. Of course, that is the tough part when we're talking about some of these saints. It's not that we don't believe that they existed. We do believe, we do know that there was a Saint Valentine who was martyred. We know that. I mean, that is an absolute fact. We don't know a lot about his life, and that's part of the problem. There's a lot of facts from back then that were lost. And then, then there are pious traditions that have grown up around these saints. And we see it with a story like that. Did that happen or not? We don't know. And maybe it did. And maybe that is where the tradition of giving Valentine's Day cards, the little cards like we see today, business card sized cards and things like that, came about. And it doesn't negate the tradition by any stretch of the imagination. I would argue the tradition is still very much a valid thing, just with that understanding that it may not be
100% accurate.
Right.
You know, but it's a lot of these saints from that time period we don't know a lot about. One of the sad parts is Saint Valentine is no longer universally celebrated in the Mass as his feast day. You know, it was for a very long time, and if for those who celebrate the 1962 Missal, it still is. Mm-hmm. But in the 1970 Missal, it's been changed. Is it?
And I think that's, you know, because of course, and for, you know, those listening to this program probably already know this, but in case they don't, you know, the tradition of, especially for martyrs, you know, of trying to have the celebration of that feast be on the day or close to the day that person died. So that's the records, you know, that we have certain records that indicate he was martyred on February 14th. I think it's 269. And then I think that feast was established. I don't have it right in front of me. I think it's like late 5th century. So only, you know, 200 or so years later. But I mean, it's been a long time since the 400s. So there was this long tradition of celebrating that day on February 14th.
Right. Yeah. So I can't remember who that's terrible. I can't remember who the feast day is for Thursday in the new Mass.
Oh, yeah.
I'm blanking on it, and that's why I was trying to look it up here real quick, and of course it's like, nope, not happening. So anyways, but there, you know, so it is an option. That's the thing, though. You know, people say, well, he was removed from the calendar. Well, yes and no. He was right. You know, he's not on the active calendar anymore. He's not the regular saint for February 14th, but it is an option in certain places.
Share.
Okay, I found the saint for Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Saint Cyril and Methodius.
Oh, Saint Cyril and Methodius. Okay.
Well, they're important too, though.
Yeah. Well, then they were missionaries, missionary monks, so they're good ones to celebrate as well. But you know, because I'd heard that before, where and this I hate to say it was probably priests and teachers who were ill informed, but that he was removed from the calendar because he really didn't exist.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
No, that's not the case at all. You know, we do know that he exists. Now, for both of you as teachers, again, it's you know, St. Valentine's Day is a big day. Are there any stories or events you want to kind of tell about, like you had seen in your school, or even personal, if you want to go that far?
Sure. Should I go ahead? Should I go first?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'm not ready yet.
All right. So I teach 3rd grade, and the option is to bring a Valentine's box. Mm-hmm. And the children walk around and put the little Valentine in. And I have seen so many creative boxes. And thanks to Pinterest, the children can you know, have directions on how to make them. You know, the Pokemon and the monsters. So they have a monster, and you put the Valentine in their mouth. Nice. Cute little hearts and just sweet ones. I've even seen a toilet. So they made a toilet box. But my own son, this was pre-Pinterest. He really was in an army phase. He loved everything army. And so he really wanted to make a tank. And so I helped him, you know, get the paper ready, and he covered his box and made a tank. And I said, now, Byron, you know, at our school, we can't bring any weapons and any guns or anything like that. And he says, well, yeah, Mom, I'm going to have it shooting out hearts. And so he had little hearts going out of the tank gun, and he called it the Love Tank.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah. So wait till he hears this podcast. He will love hearing that.
Oh my gosh.
It definitely beats the old shoe boxes we used to have, where you just take the shoe box and color it with, you know, cover it with paper and cut a hole in the top.
It's the game has been upped. So
oh yeah.
Yeah, got to do it now with Pinterest. You have to bring it up. And, you know, the kids, they just have so much fun. It's just a delightful holiday. You know, I have kids that even make them, but they buy Valentine's at Target or whatever. Thank goodness nowadays they recognize that class sizes are larger because they sell the 32 box.
Sure.
So the kids have fun with that, and of course I give Valentine's too, and I like to do a puppy or a kitty Valentine, and then as a teacher I give them a pencil, a Valentine pencil.
Oh, there you go.
So that's fun. And then our room moms come in, and for an hour we play games and have a snack. So it's just a really fun day.
Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, it's a celebration I know most kids look forward to anyways. I think they enjoy it. And yeah, getting candy definitely helps.
That's true.
How about you, Mike? You got a story you want to tell?
I do. It's funny. So I am, and I don't really know why, but I've always been somewhat of a romantic. God help me. It's just it is what it is. And but it's funny because I was thinking about this when we were getting ready for the show, and I had a couple quick little, like the memory version of sound bites, like just quick little images that popped in there. One of them was, I vaguely remember having a huge crush. Like when I was in first grade, I had this huge crush on our student teacher, and that got out like on Valentine's Day.
No.
So that was, to which of course, looking at it now, like she probably, she just thought it was sweet and moved on and never thought about it. It was a big deal for me, but so there were, some of those horror moments when you're a kid and you have that first little brush of what you think love is. And especially if it's around Valentine's Day.
Oh, yes.
But then when I was in the Army, I shouldn't probably have done this because some of my friends still tease me about it. But I happened to be assigned to run our PT. This was in Arizona at the time. On the morning of Valentine's Day.
Okay, wait a minute. And what's RPT?
Oh, for physical training. So the PT for that morning. So I was in charge of leading it.
Oh, okay.
And at the end of it, I had it was like 50 people. I had them all circle up around me for to stretch and everything, which is not uncommon. But then I pointed to one end of the circle. I said, "Okay, you guys move in a little bit," and they all kind of looked like, "What's he saying?" They moved in. I turned to the other side. I said, "Okay, you guys move out." I made a gigantic heart.
Oh, that's hilarious!
Out of everybody. And then I proceeded, for whatever reason, as if that wasn't enough. I led the PT stretches with an Antonio Banderas accent, which I will not duplicate here. But just watch Shrek; it's pretty much just Puss in Boots. To add some sort of like romantic, Spanish romantic flavor to. I don't know what was up, but anyway. So those are some of my embarrassing stories. But at the high school, it was funny because there were so many funny things. But two that jump out at me just real quick was the one time I remember. A couple years ago, the one kid had this girl he wanted to ask out, on top of all of it. It wasn't just Valentine's Day.
Oh, boy.
But he wanted to ask her out and ask her to the dance and just kind of get it all done at once. And he duped someone in the office into letting him do the morning announcements.
Oh, that's funny.
So he could ask her out over the announcements. And the funniest thing was, it comes over the announcements, but then as soon as the actual PA system dies down a little bit, like you can hear all of the people in all the rooms in the whole school all making a commotion about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody was reacting to it. So that was pretty funny. And then probably my favorite of all was, I think it was 2 years ago. I'm in the middle of teaching class on Valentine's Day, and the door opens up, and a barbershop quartet walks in.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, they're like, are you Mr. Creavey? I'm like, yeah. And I had no idea what was going on. It took me a while to realize. I thought like a student had done this as like a joke. I was just so not expecting it that it turns out my wife set this up, and it was I can't possibly top that, by the way. So like this like four like this guy, like four barbershop quartet group of guys
awesome.
Comes in singing to me these songs that my wife paid them however much it was to come and do that. So that was my most memorable moment, was the barbershop quartet Christine sent.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was fun.
At my husband's Catholic school, they do that as a fundraiser. The choir, you can buy a song, and so you can have it sung to that person.
Oh, that's
as a
cool.
fundraiser. Yeah. So I was asking my husband about that this morning. He says, "Don't you dare." he didn't want me to pay those kids. I'm like, well, it benefits the students. That's good.
Yeah. And of course, by telling you not to do it, it makes it all the more worth doing. Embarrass them all the more.
Yes.
One thing we're going to do, actually, this is coming up this week. So on Thursday nights, we do a trivia. It's actually a fundraiser for our parish it's been doing really well. We do it trivia at the local brewery.
Nice.
Oh, nice. And so, pub trivia, and it's a lot of fun. Well, part of this trivia, we do it a little bit different. There's one round that's just general questions, your typical trivia type, Jeopardy type thing. The second round is music. We play a little bit of a song, and you have to name the title, artist, and year. So I think this time it's going to be all either love songs or breakup songs.
Oh.
So I'm not going to mention any names in case there happens to be someone who would go to the trivia to would do it. But, so like the first song will be a happy song, love song. The next one will be unhappy, they broke up, or, love hurts or something like that, So I'm going to have some fun with it.
That's a great idea. What do you do it with teams or? Yeah,
so we do for the music part. We do where the people who are there, they pay $5 a person to do the trivia, and the general trivia is individual. We don't need that one to be a team event. But the second round is a team, so like teams of 2 to 4 people get together. And they have to figure out the song. And that way, because I try to pick, of course, they're all popular songs. These aren't going to be, contemporary Christian. Right. They're not going to be hymns. They're going to be pop music, country, pop, things like that. And you get different people with different experiences. Oh, yeah, I was in high school in the 70s when this song, I was in high school in the 2000s when this was a song, and so it really helps get a variety of ideas. But it's a lot of fun. And
it is because it's a community builder.
Exactly.
And then you get to have a nice beer.
Exactly. Well,
and raise some money.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it does raise money. I mean, we've been, again, it's not a lot of money, but it does raise some money, and it does support the brewery. I want to support the local brewery because I like locally brewed beer, and so I want to support them. So it is fun. It is so much fun. People have such a blast, and just the reactions and everything. So that's what we're doing for Valentine's Day evening, is that music trivia with the love songs and the breakup songs. So it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I've already got about half the list written up to figure out, so it's gonna be fun to put together. See people's reactions too as we switch back and forth. So anything more you want to talk about for Valentine's Day? Any interesting things?
How about the first Valentine Day card I got from my husband? He is my husband for 32 years.
Wow.
And
awesome.
I'm still with him after this very first card. It said, Valentine, you're as sweet as pie. Then you open it up and it says, and twice as flaky.
That's good.
So,
that's a good
one. We have a lot of laughs together.
That's a good one. Yeah,
go ahead. No, sorry.
I was gonna say, as priests, it is funny though for a priest, of course, we're celibate. We don't have a Valentine, but I know some people get a little upset about, Valentine's Day. Well, what about the single people? It's like, well, you know what? Let them have their celebration, So we don't always get involved in Valentine's Day stuff, but you know what? That's quite all right by me.
Well, you can still show you love, each other by, just love.
Exactly.
Not romantic love. So
exactly. Now you were going to say, Mike?
Yeah, no, I'm just along the same lines, because I had a very simple bullet point down I wrote for myself here just to remind me, just as far as maybe an opportunity to reflect, more deeply on love, and from a lot of different perspectives, as far as the virtue side of it, right? As far as the theological virtue of charity, ultimately. But then I also saw some cool things. I forget what the website is here. It's I think it was over on I have it right here. Epic Pew. It always has some fun stuff. They had a list of it was called 8 Ways Catholics Can Reclaim St. Valentine's Day. Which and even in the headline, it was funny because they put Saint like in all caps, like with asterisks around.
That's
it.
right. We should say that. We should say Saint Valentine.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I thought just 2 simple little ones that are on there that were simple, but maybe just something good to kind of do. It's like an intentional thing. They just said wear red, and then because it's a martyr.
Oh, sure.
Not just because it's the the color of the candy. but to have it be like a teaching moment about, I mean, well, I'm wearing red today for the same reason Father wears red for beheading of John the Baptist, or for whoever.
Ooh, that's an excellent point.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that myself.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. They also said go to adoration.
Oh, there you go.
That sounds good. I hadn't thought of that one, I must admit. So it's probably a good one to try.
That's always a good one every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was actually just reminded, Archbishop Fulton Sheen, now Venerable Fulton Sheen, that was his big thing about doing a daily holy hour. And there's an article recently where it was excerpt from his biography talking about that, about his love for that. And so, yeah, Valentine's Day is a great day to go spend some time, and maybe with your Valentine, with your sweetheart, spend some time before absolutely. Our Lord and thank him for the love between the two of you and the love that he has for us,
Mm-hmm.
So. Well, excellent. The good things to think about, and of course, celebrate this great feast day of a martyr, and celebrate the love we have for each other. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Take a break right now, and thank everyone for listening to Let's Talk and all the other SQPN podcasts. We enjoy doing it, and we enjoy bringing these podcasts to you, and hope that you enjoy listening to them, and that you're willing to like, share, and subscribe. To like them on Facebook and YouTube and everywhere you find them. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you watch the YouTube version or listen to the YouTube version. Share them with your friends. Let your friends know if you like what you heard. Let your friends know, and so that they can join our SQPN community, both here at Let's Talk and our other podcasts: Secrets of Doctor Who, Secrets of Star Trek, Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. We've got our Secrets of Technology, which we recently started, which is very interesting. There's some great topics of discussion already there, and more to come, and many other podcasts. Even Catholics of Oz, we have some Australians that have joined us, and it's fun to listen to them. Their take on issues from the Australian perspective, which is, of course, is very similar in many ways to our perspective here in the United States, but they do have a little bit different perspective as well. So it's interesting to hear what they have to say. We do have a way you can support us through Patreon, and it's a great way to ensure that if you want to keep these podcasts coming, you can contribute, because of course it does cost money to bring these podcasts to you. Some of us are volunteers, but it still costs money to keep the lights on, so to speak. So this week especially, I would like to thank a couple of our Patreon patrons: Bennett G, Tara H, Francis B, Carla K, and Jason K. Thank you for your support of SQPN. We hope you will continue to do so, and thank you to all our Patreon patrons, so that we can keep these shows going. If you wish to join our Patreon patrons, you can go to sqpn.com/give, and there's a link there that takes you to our Patreon page to join at different levels. And if you join at certain levels, you will get gifts from us. So please do take a look at that. So before we go on to our picks of the week, is there anything else that either of you would like to talk about? Last thoughts for Valentine's Day?
The only thing I was going to add was that not only, from what you were saying about our friends in Australia, it's not only about what they say, it's also how they say it, because we love that accent.
Oh, yes.
That is true.
And I'm sure they would say that we've got the accent, not them. But
I bet so.
Well, very good. Very good. Well, this is a good time then to move on to our picks of the week. Barb, would you like to go first?
Sure. I love books. And mine is by Lisa Hendy. I Am God's Storyteller.
Wait, Lisa wrote a book?
Yes. This is a new children's book. It's awesome. It's a picture book this time. And the illustrator is Eric Carlson, and he is a senior at Notre Dame. And it's just delightful. I got an extra promo copy. Nice. And read it to my class, my third graders, and they really enjoyed it. It's going to be released on Tuesday. And wow. Of course, I did the pre-buy, so I should be getting it then. And I can't wait till they can see it, because the drawings are just delightful. I Am God's Storyteller. The first part, she goes through the Bible and how so many people told God's story of love. here we go with our
there
theme,
we go.
with
There you
love.
go.
Yes. And then towards the end of the story, talking how the children can write the story and write their story. So as a teacher, for a teachable moment, this is great to encourage my children to write. So I'm anxious to get that book in my hands, because do you know how I match my manicure to the current book I'm reading?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that? I have been doing that for about a year and a half, and if having a blast doing that. I come in the morning and the kids will see my nail color change, and they'll say, "Mrs. Gilman, what are you reading?" So,
That's awesome.
and then they also help me select just the right color.
Nice.
So with Lisa's, my students told me I just have to have blue. So when I get the actual book in my hand, I'll take a picture, and I think that might be my 88th match my manicure to my current book I'm reading.
Wow.
So, and I even have a hashtag, book to look.
Nice.
So,
Oh, nice.
I like
so
that.
it's so fun
That's gonna
because,
catch on.
it's what's fun too is that these people work. I know Lisa's been working on this book for, probably a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you send it, and you don't see it for a year, then she can see people are enjoying the book. So
Yeah.
I think it must be so fun to be an author.
Yeah, well, I joke about her writing a book because she's always got books in the pipeline. I mean,
Yes.
she is such a prolific author and an excellent
Yes.
author. I mean, she
Yes.
and so many ranges of topics. I mean, her
I
books
know.
are, they're not just kids' books. They're,
For mothers,
fiction and nonfiction.
Yes.
And
When you go to the list on Amazon, at first you first think, like, these have to be by different people, right? Yeah,
it's Lisa.
Right.
She's
Yep.
awesome.
yeah, and it's incredible. So that's good. That's another one to check out, if nothing else, just because she's involved. She's like I said, she's an excellent author.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a friend of SQPN. So we're
Yes.
glad to promote her.
Yes.
How about you, Mike? What do you have for a pick of the week?
Well, no surprises here. I also have a book. Although, last time I was plugging Star Wars socks, so that was a little different. But this time, I thought it seemed very apropos for our conversation too. So I know I keep holding it up to the camera, but my camera's not working now. But St. Francis de Sales, who those who don't know, pretty awesome guy.
Oh, yeah.
His little book, The Art of Loving God. And this volume I have is put out by Sophia Institute Press, and it's just a nice little volume. It's only it's like 150 pages, but really small pages. It reads pretty quickly, and they're just incredible meditations that he part of his spiritual conferences. And he was such a great practical spiritual guide, and his focus on helping laity, especially hundreds of years before Vatican II, and it's so handy. There's a lot of great little practical things that are filled. It's like cheesecake, it may not look that big, but it's very dense, and just really you can ruminate on it, and it's all summed up. I would say this little bookmark here I have near the end, where as far as his title, The Art of Loving God, he says here, those who are really struggling with this, they can't figure out, how do I go about loving God? He says, poor souls, they torment themselves about finding the art of loving God, not knowing that there is none except to love him. And there's that beautiful, and that's, he has back-to-back chapters in here called Love God Simply and Simply Love God. Sort of two sides of that. So I found it a very, very useful book. I'm going to give it a reread here, I think, in light of Valentine's Day.
Well, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good key point of, to love God is just to do the act of loving him, to give of ourselves to him. I mean, it's really not much more complicated than that. You can go into more depth, obviously, but it's just that act of loving him, and it's what I have to do? Just give of yourself to God, turn to God and say, I love you. What do you want me to do?
Spend some time
with him.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Very good. That's great. Both great picks. My pick, as I kind of teased before, is an event that we're going to do tonight as we're recording this. So it's the Saturday after or before this was released. It's a fundraising activity we're doing for the parish called A Night at the Races. We've done this several times. And what this is, it's horse racing. So video horse racing.
Nice.
You get this kit from this company that only deals with nonprofits and corporations. You know, they don't release these to the general public. You can't do it like a bar event or something like that. It has to be a fundraiser or a corporate event. And it's actual horse races from places, you know, like Florida and places like that they've recorded. And then they send you this whole kit. And it can be as simple as, you know, you have just generic names for the horses to the kit we're doing is actually it's the actual names of the horses with their actual histories and everything. So know how these horses have performed in the past. So those who are really serious about horse racing can sit and look and try to figure out which horses are going to win. You know, I mean, it can get, you know, very simple to very complicated. And then you get funny money, get Monopoly money, basically, you know, fake money. And you do betting, you know, and again, you can go as simple as just winner takes all to, you know, place show, the whole win place show, the whole works. You can do doubles and triples. And I mean, it can get as complicated or as simple as you want with this event, but it's a lot of fun because you make it an evening. So we're going to do you know, mass tonight is 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock is our mass. 5:30 is beginning of the social hour. 6:30 will be dinner. We'll have a nice catered dinner. And then 7 o'clock is the actual races, and we'll, you know, project them on a screen and all that. And it's got the announcers and everything, and it's energy and excitement, you know, silent auction items, and just, we have a lot of fun with it. And it's just a blast, and it brings in pretty good money.
Yeah.
You know, because you can buy,
that is
you
awesome.
can own the horses. So you pay so much to own a horse. And of course, that's cash to the parish. That's just free cash. But then if your horse wins, you get put into a drawing for a cash prize. We're going to give away some money as a cash prize to of the 10 races, whoever's name gets pulled gets a cash prize. So we're going to have a lot of fun with it. It's going to be a blast because we've done it this will be our 4th time doing it. And every year we do it, we get more and more people and more excitement. So we'll obviously put a link in the show notes to where to find it, but it's A Night at the Races. If you're looking for a fundraiser for your parish, for your school, it's a great one. It's a lot of fun.
Now, do you pick your horse by the name, or do you look at the stats?
I pick it. I actually don't play. Since I run it. In the past years I've emceed. This year we should have somebody doing the emceeing, but I usually don't actually play.
Okay.
But some people do, you know. They'll look at the names because, of course, there's some really clever names.
Yes. That's always and
that's half the fun. Other people do, you know, again, those who are more serious, they'll sit there and look at the stats and try to figure out, okay, well, this horse has won, you know, 5 out of the last 10 races, so there's 50-50 chance, and, you know.
I just go by the names. That's how I play.
Yeah, that's half the fun.
Yes.
It is.
I think it's ultimately what it comes down to is this horse sounds good.
Yep. I always think those are funny because the horses, you know, a lot of those races, you know, it starts, they run the whole big build up, and they run for, you know, like 45 seconds, a minute, something like that, and then they're done. They just go home and eat oats
and get spoiled.
It's just great.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. You know, thoroughbred racing is one of those. Greyhound racing, I think, is another one of those where it's got kind of a bad reputation because of abuses in the past.
Yeah,
but. I think it's gotten to the point now where these animals really, they're treated better than your average household dog, other than the actual races.
Yep.
You know, so it's kind of funny about that. But yeah, I remember watching like the Kentucky Derby, you know, just kind of go off on that little tangent about the build up to the race. You know, they had hours and hours of TV, this horse race, and it's going to be the big thing. 2 minutes later, it's done. Well, that was great. And then they talk about it for 20 minutes later. And well, that's it. Thanks for watching.
That's a riot. Yeah, my in-laws' neighbors are from Kentucky originally, and they have a huge party every year. And it was hours, like the build-up and everything. And then it was like, oh, that was it.
Well, that was fun to watch.
It's over.
Thanks.
Yep.
So, well, very good. Thank you both again for coming on. Barb, where can people find you if they want to see your nail polish matching your books?
Yes, I am Barb in Nebraska on Twitter and Instagram.
Excellent. Yeah, that's why I introduced you that way, because that's your handle. So, and then Mike, where can people find you?
Oh, my website's a good way. It's thegraciousguest.org. And then also I'm on Twitter as well. It's at gracious_guest. And on the website, they can get my podcast I do and blog and all that fun stuff over there.
Well, excellent.
Yeah.
Glad you guys both could join again.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm Father Cory Sticha. You can find my website, frcory.org, where I post my homilies. You can find me on Facebook. Father Cory Sticha is my page. Fr Cory Sticha is my Twitter handle. And you'll find me around elsewhere as well. I'm sure you'll find me bouncing around on the SQPN podcasts, such as Secrets of Doctor Who, Secrets of Star Trek, occasionally on Secrets of Technology, and many others. So check out the SQPN podcast. You'll probably find me on one of them eventually. If you would like to send us feedback about this episode of Let's Talk or any others, you can reach us at letstalk@sqpn.com. No apostrophe in the email address, of course. And once again, if you wish to join our Patreon, you can go to sqpn.com/give. Thank you very much for listening, and God bless.